Good afternoon. I'm Elizabeth Greisman, and this is Peter Quantz, choreographer. We're speaking here in my studio, and we're going to discuss our meeting at the Banff Center in 2005.
So, Elizabeth, you were at the Banff Center doing an artist residency.
Yes.
And I was at the Banff Center working with a professional dance program where I had won the Clifford E. Lee Award, which is Canada's national award for choreography.
Wonderful.
I was 25.
Wow.
And it was my first professional work in Canada.
Incredible.
And when we met at the dinner table, sparks flew.
Yes. And I talked to you a little bit about my dance background, which is from the Laban School in London, which gave me the dance education and the interest in drawing dancers. I also took a course called Draw the Dancer at Central St. Martin's, which gave me the tools to draw the dancer. So you invited me into your studio, and I came in and started to sketch the choreography that you were working on.
And you were a very quiet presence in the studio. And you created a portrait that caught the tension between the dancers and me, the excitement, the focus, the energy, and you very kindly gave me a painting after that, which will travel with me for a lifetime.
Wonderful. And I love that painting. It spoke to me, but big surprise, in the next exhibition that I'm having at Propeller Gallery, which opens on October 2nd in Toronto, there's a second painting from that series, which you haven't seen yet. And it also has the doorway. So it's the second part of the story. Same colors.
Oh, fantastic.
So we're moving now into modern day times. Last October 2023, Peter called me and invited me to Montreal to sketch Le Grand Ballet and his new choreography.
So, I had worked with Le Grand Ballet Canadien several times before this project, and then the director changed. And the new director had been in Stuttgart Ballet, where I was also a dancer, and in that company there is a beautiful production of Lady of the Camellias, La Dame aux Camélias, based on the novel of Alexandre Dumas' Fils. And I was in that.
Wow.
But the new director, Yvonne, asked me to use that story. And I thought, oh my goodness, this story has been used for operas, plays, movies, ballets, in many different versions. It's been reinterpreted and named different stories, but it's still the same structure. And I thought, how on earth am I going to find my perspective and contribute something new? I didn't want to just recreate the novel. I wanted to find a way to create a different emotional landscape. And that's kind of like making a painting, isn't it?
Exactly.
Like a painting is a fragment of something.
Yes.
It's not the full journey. In the ballet, I have to tell the full story, but I actually made it into 4 tableaux. So I tried to do it in a painterly way.
That's fascinating. Well, I had 2 parts to my journey as a painter with your ballet. I had the sketches in the studio, but I was also incredibly fortunate to have big tables to work on. So that meant I could do full-size pieces that were not actually completed. They were more sketches, but they were large. So some are on mylar, some are on paper, some were put on canvas to be worked on later on. And people are always asking me, how do you capture the movement in sort of mid-movement? And the reason I can do it is because of my training. I have a training to absorb almost the movement in my mind, which is part of the movement memory that I learned as a dancer.
Oh, wow.
So I have an extra tool as a visual artist, which is why I'm so drawn to draw the dancers. And I have to say, I am personally happiest in the dance studio drawing the dancers. That's like the best place in the world for me to be. And as long as I don't get so overwhelmed that I can't draw, and that does happen. So,
well, you made miracles happen in the short time you were in Montreal.
thank you. I loved it.
And you worked so hard.
Well, it was a great pleasure. A lot of the things that I did in Montreal, I didn't change at all. And they will be in the show. But what I did do when I came back is I got a lot of stills from you.
Mm-hmm.
And this was part 2. And for part 2, generally, I worked on stretched canvas. And what I did was I blended architecture with your dancers. So it was more of a storyline. So you could say that instead of using the scenography that was behind your dancers, which I certainly employed in some of them, I also did the city of Toulouse, for instance. And that comes from my own relationship with the city of Toulouse and things that occurred for me personally there. There was a lot. So there's a history in my painting from my show many, many, many years ago called Women in Armor, where I'm in armor in the city of Toulouse in one of the ancient churches. So in this series, there was almost sort of a Romeo and Juliet kind of thing with the scenography, because I had many personal encounters that were difficult and emotional in Toulouse. So it's like I just put your dancers in front of the architecture, transporting the colors, my own emotional reaction to your play of dance and movement, and put the whole thing together in front of a visual background.
I didn't realize that's what was happening.
Yeah.
But isn't it incredible that I in my work I related to the novel, and I related to various composers, and drew my inspiration from that, as well as visual artists and fashion and different things. But you are taking my ballet as inspiration, the images from that, the emotions created,
Yes.
drawing on your life experiences
Absolutely.
in various ways, and shifting the context in a really interesting way. Both of us are interpreting and changing what came before. It's a new combination, a new creation.
It is.
And yeah, in my work too, there's a lot of very personal material that is not in the novel, but the novel evokes that in when I read it, and we need to find our place in material, right? Oh, so that's just beautiful that you connected it to those images of armor and
Yes, and the colors that I used, I chose very vibrant colors in some and very almost Art Nouveau colors in others. I really played with the oils, and then I photographed them at the Witchwood Barnes studio, and you can see the filtering light in front of them. But these paintings will be on exhibit also at Propeller, and they'll tell a very different story because they're staged. The dancers are staged in front of the background, so there's the interplay.
Now, part of this exhibition that you're doing includes paintings that you did at Teatro Colón
Yes.
in Argentina.
Yes, of Le Grand Ballet Argentine.
Right.
Yes.
So, I've never been to Argentina. I'd love to go.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, and I've heard the
Buenos
dancers
Aires,
are fantastic.
They are unbelievable.
But what is different about those works from the works that you're showing that were inspired in Montreal?
Well, the work that I'm showing from the Teatro Colón in Buenos Aires is almost exclusively sketches, small sketches, because I was able to work in the dance studios there the main studio for the Pas de Deux, called the Rotunda, I was allowed in, which I was floored when I came in. The history in that room, the great dancers that performed, and I was given a music stand to put my paper on.
That's it?
That's it. And I had to keep pulling myself back. It didn't matter how far back I went in the room, the dancers would come up within 1 inch of my music stand because they were using every inch of space. And I was there with the maestro and with the librettist and the choreographer and the artistic director and me at the front of the room. And it was almost too much. But after a while, I got used to it, and I got into a routine, and most of those sketches are watercolors. So because I was working right in the studio, and I was on a music stand, and I had nothing around me to absorb any paint falling on the floor, or I was a small presence in a very large room. And so there are transparencies of watercolor. There's a lot of pencil sketches from there.
Okay.
They're small in general. Also in Buenos Aires, I did have a studio, so I was able to draw some of the foliage in Buenos Aires in March at that time. It was unbelievably hot. It felt like 40 degrees every day. Nobody went outside. We were all happy to be in the studio. And I went from the studio back, the dance studio, back to my studio to work on large scale work. And then I got it dry to a certain point. It was a large piece of canvas. Then I put it on the floor of the, I guess you could say the Corps de Ballet studio where they had everybody else dancing. And in the corner, trying to not take up too much room again, but this time I actually sat on it with oil pastels and drew. That was fun. And then that needed to be worked up.
Isn't it interesting how the physical constraints of a studio or a workspace influence the type of work that you can do?
Yes.
And I love that you have highlighted that to show the difference in the type of work that you did in Buenos Aires
Yes.
and in Montreal.
Yes. It was an amazing experience as I went back and forth from the Teatro Colón, which is magnificently beautiful every day, and just overwhelmed that I was allowed in there to draw.
Amazing.
And I made so many friends with the dancers, and the language was not a barrier.
That is the most beautiful thing. And I think that's a great place to leave this, that language, verbal language, isn't what the arts are about.
No.
They're about a deeper humanity.
Yes.
And you've been able to transcend that.
I have been very, very fortunate to have so many doors open to me.
Congratulations, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Thank you, and congratulations, Peter. And I'm so glad I got to draw your ballet. I hope you'll see the production, the exhibition that I'm putting on, and really understand the evolution from the sketch.
I would love to see it.